Hello everyone, this is Lolly and what you are watching is Arx Fatalis Modding Academy. This episode will give you some more tips on working with textures and adjusting the level, and hopefully by the end of this episode you will be able to do a complete Marioification of the Goblin Prison, like what I have over here. I'm going to assume in this episode that you have watched the other editing textures video. If you haven't, then please go over there and watch that first, because I'm explaining the basics there, the necessary tools that you need to install, and in this video we'll be building on top of that. Let's start with identifying what the texture is that you have in front of you, because most of the time it's absolutely not self-explanatory what a given texture's file name is. For example, last time we edited the bone and I was quite lucky that the bone's texture is actually called bone, something in its file name. But would you guess that this piece of darker wood that is just right before this potty hole or toilet is actually a ceiling texture? What you need to do is, well, first of all, you need to have Arx Libertatis installed and you need to work with Arx Libertatis in this case. And Arx Libertatis has some debug tools that you need to work with. Go into Options, go to Control Settings, and then click this arrow or go to Customize Controls to see the keyboard bindings. And on the second page in the lower section, you will see a shortcut for Debug View. Currently it's set to scroll lock. Try to set a character to your liking, and if you keep pressing that, then you will see a couple of interesting things that will aid you much when modding Arx Libertatis or Arx Fatalis. So the first tool that you will get, if you keep pressing the key, it will give you different tools. The first is Entities. It shows all the interactive, movable stuff that you can put scripts onto. And the next one is the skeleton, and I don't know what is that thing in the center of the screen, but for me at the moment in this virtual Windows 11 it will get worse, so bear with me for a second. The next one is the zones, and these are the areas that you can trigger some event if you walk in there. The next one is paths, which is mostly for moving the camera. As you can see, this little red line just before us is for the intro cinematic, as far as I know. And my computer is struggling to load the pathfinding part. Okay, let's keep moving on if the game would register. Don't worry, it will probably be a lot smoother for you. The next one is lights. Here are all the lights that you can see in the game. These little clouds that are spawning here, these are the fogs. And the next one is taxing my computer even more. It's the collision shapes. Next debug display, please. Oh, there it is. It's the portals. These are the things that limit the rendering of the game so that the game runs smoother and you don't need to render stuff that is not directly visible to you. You don't really need to worry about this right now. And the thing that is needed is the next one after it. It's the materials view. Actually, it's the second last option in this list. And if you go to any surface, for example, this one in front of me, then you can see that the texture name is written above it, which is Graph Object 3D Textures. And in this case, it's L1 Prison stone in square brackets wall2.jpg. So if you want to edit the texture of this piece of square here, then you need to make adjustments to that L1 prison stone wall2 texture. But wait, there's more. If it's called wall2, then is there a wall1? Yes, there it is next to it. And if you keep looking at these walls, then there are altogether 6 pieces of wall textures, so I had to replace 6 pieces of walls here. And it looks like we have even more because this is wall 12. So there are quite a few variants of prison walls. Oh, we even have a wall 13. One quirky thing of this game is that the texture's file name contains an extra information regarding its material type. For example, if you are walking on these tiles here, then you can see that all the texture file names contain the word stone in square brackets. If you step on this, then you will get the stone sounds being played. If you go to a different type of texture, for example this one, then you can see that the material type in the square brackets have been changed to sand, and as you walk on top of this, it will emit different sounds. And the same goes for wooden surfaces. This has wood, although it's in curly brackets, so I don't know if that is working. If you want to identify why a certain surface sounds in a specific way, then you need to check out the part that is inside the square bracket. And this one has fabric written in it. There are a couple of synonyms in the file names, so fabric and cloth will have the same sound effect, and I'm busted. And if you keep pressing the debug display button, then 2 more times will turn the tool off and you can start cycling all over again. One more tip for you guys is that instead of starting a new game every time, for example, when you make changes to the prison cell, well, I'm going to do it anyway just to reset my stuff. Do a quick generate, just start a game, escape the intro cinematics, and do a quick save. And when you reload the game again, then just click on resume game and it will load the latest save file that you created, and you will skip having to watch the intro cinematics all over again. I have created a couple of quick access links here in Windows for myself. First of all is this C users lolly save games Arx Libertatis and unpacked folder. This is here in the unpacked. And the other one is the C program files, not the x86, but the vanilla program files, and in here Arx Libertatis, so that I can quickly jump between the two folders. This one contains the original stuff, the extracted contents of the pack files, and I will copy a couple of things from here in this video, and the other one is where we will going to copy stuff. So let me go into Graph, Object 3D, and Textures, and let me search for L1 prison, and then square bracket stone, and I think I will go with wall and see what we get. Very nice, we have all of the textures here, 15 different textures. What I need is the first 6 one. You can see that these are the basic brick textures. Let me just start with copying a single brick wall piece. And I'm going to place it in this other folder, if I can find it. Yes, here inside Arx Libertatis, Graph, Object 3D, Textures, and I'm going to place it right here. What I can do with this is, let's edit this with GIMP again, and let me try upscaling this. It will not look very different because I'm not going to enhance the graphics, I'm just going to showcase that it can be upscaled and enhanced. I'm going to go with image, scale image, and you can see that the size of this current image is 128 by 128, and GIMP is smart enough if I want to upscale this to 4 times its size, then I can just type in multiply by 4 and it will calculate it for me. And you can see it's a bit shitty because we have all of these not so crisp edges. And what I want to show you guys with this scaling, first let me revert back with Ctrl Z, is that if you want to retain the pixelness, the sharp edges of a given image, then when you go with scaling, then you need to change this cubic to none. So GIMP should not do any interpolation. It should not try to smooth out any pixels, but just if I tell him to multiply stuff by 4, then it should just multiply stuff. And you can see that everything is as crisp as the original texture. To illustrate the resolution, let me draw something that is very tiny here, like, I don't know. Let me do a blue color. Then I can do something like so. Let me create a little checkerboard pattern here, and maybe for a couple of pixels here. Okay, and we should be able to see this blue something, and if we move close enough to the texture, then we should be able to spot it. Here we go, and let's find our blue stuff, and I can already see it here. I don't know if that is visible. It's not going to be as clear as in GIMP with all its pixelated beauty. Shigar, can you please stop bobbing? View bobbing off. Thank you. Now the player stands still. So as you can see, the texture isn't as crisp as what we saw in GIMP, but you can see that the game can just load it fine. So if you want to AI upscale stuff, then it will probably work just fine. Or if you want to hand draw it like Pedro does in the Insanity mod, then that will also work. Regarding scaling, there are a couple of caveats. You can upscale any of these textures, but you cannot change the resolution of this HUD elements or any of the stuff that you place inside your inventory. For example, let me pick up this piece of wall block here. If you change the size of this wall block, then it will take up more inventory space because arcane logic, I don't know, and we'll try to resize this, but you will see that it's not going to work out as expected. And let's see if I can find the texture for the wall block. Okay, it's not going to be inside Graph Object 3D Textures because it's an image of an item. And in this case, you need to go to Interactive, more specifically Graph Object 3D Interactive, and then Items, and it should be somewhere in Movable maybe. And we need to find out the name of that item. Arx Libertatis' debug tools come in handy in this case. The first debug tool says that this is jailstone, and we will just ignore that 0003 part. Okay, so we're searching for a jailstone, and here it is. Jailstone is apparently a quest item. Very nice. And if you go here, then you will see that we have the jailstone 0003 and also a 0001 version. We'll ignore that. We'll just stay here in the root folder of this jailstone. And you can see here's the icon of it. So we need to, again, create the folder structure of this jailstone, and we need to copy this BMP file. Notice the square bracket icon, square bracket closing, in the file name. That will indicate that this is the icon of the item here, but we will work with items in a different episode. All right, here comes the nightmare, copying that folder structure. All right, Object 3D Interactive. Ctrl-Shift-N actually works in Windows. That's very cool. Items, quest item, jail, stone, and then we'll copy this little icon, and I'm going to edit this in GIMP again. Very nice. All right, let me go to image and scale image again. And let's try making this twice as big, which will result in an image that is actually 4 times the original size. So you could fit 4 wall blocks in this image. And as you can see, if you upscale the icon, then it will take up more space in this case. So don't touch the resolution of the items unless you want to make them take up more space. You can make an extra large mushroom by increasing the size of this. One square is 32 by 32 and every other item is a multiple of that in one or the other direction, or in both. Okay, so let's go back to editing the wall textures and let me try to Marioficate this wall again, as you see in the intro. I found this nice sprite sheet for Super Mario World. I'm going to copy this image again because stealing is fun, and Ctrl-Shift-V to open it into a new tab because I don't want to paste the image just yet here. I'm going to first select a smaller portion of this image with this selection tool. And if you select this texture from this specific image, then you will see here in the lower corner, when you hold down any of the corners preparing to get stuff resized, is that you'll see that this is 160 by 160. Arx works best with textures that have the side length which is multiples of 2, like 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, and 512, and so on. So in this case, we need to resize this before we paste it to this other texture. Just to be sure, I'm going to check the size of this image again, going to Image Metadata and View Metadata, and this says that this is 512 times 512. So we're going to resize this image also to that size. Ctrl-C, Ctrl-Shift-V, Image, Scale Image, and 512. Making sure that interpolation is set to none. Very nice. Now I can Ctrl-A, Ctrl-C, and Ctrl-V, and it fits like a glove. Whatever, let's call it the layer X, whatever. Okay, I'm going to export it the usual way. Very good, it's not progressive JPEG, and we should be good to go. And if I boot up the game, then you will see just how many different versions of that wall texture is there for a variety of reasons, or just to have a variety. You can see that the texture is spread around quite randomly. It's interesting to see, like, when the game is glitching and Mario is slowly taking over the territory. So it's very cool to see. Instead of copying the other images from the textures folder, I'm going to cheat a bit. Let me go back to this. Well, thank you, Windows. Which folder are we in now? Let me go to Arx Libertatis, just start all over. Graph, Object 3D, Textures, and let me grab this L1 Prison Stone, Wall 1, Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, and I'm going to name this, or rather the copy, to Wall 2. And I can rinse and repeat until I have the 6 textures of the wall that I initially had. And there you go, here's the scene what you saw earlier in today's video. Let me jump over to the city of Arx because I'm going to show you guys one issue with the game that you need to keep in mind when you are working with these textures. And the issue is that one texture might be used in multiple locations in unexpected ways. Jó, megvárjuk, bazd meg. I found this very plain looking wooden door over here. It's the door of the fisherman's hut just below the stairs. It's using the wood light door texture. Let me try tweaking that. Here it is. Wood light door. Let me copy this into my own version. Yeah, let's replace whatever was here. Oh, it was already here in the Arx Libertatis' default installed stuff. And I don't know, let me grab a door image. Okay, this is fancy enough. Copy image. And we're going to stretch this a bit. Wow, it's a bit big. I need to break this chain icon, so now that I can free transform it, I can fit this door into this shape roughly. Okay, there we go. And on this axis, very good. And let's stretch it a bit here too. Very good. Scale. Let's save it. Very nice. The fisherman should be very proud of us for placing 2 handles on the door. But let me move over to a different side of the map. Oh, hello, here are some doors on the ceiling. What? Oh, and we have even more doors over here. So yeah, the door texture is repurposed as a general purpose wood texture because that has the best grainy looking wood that is used all over the city. So be careful when you are editing stuff. And later we will try to fix this in a different episode. But for now, keep in mind that when you change something, make sure to look around and look at suspiciously similar looking textures because it's most probably the same. Or just move around with your debug tool enabled and just look at the different stuff that you can find on different walls just to get familiarized with what textures are being used. Alright, for this episode, I think this is it. I've mentioned a couple of different things in this video. If you have any questions with these new subjects, then feel free to ping me again in the messages. Thank you for the comments in the previous section. And I will continue making a couple of more of these videos because this is still just scratching the surface of modding Arx Fatalis, but this is a very good baseline to start with. One more tip that I have for you guys is to just start experimenting. Try to break the game a few times, try to see if you can make it crash, and nothing is permanent, so you can always fix stuff, you can always delete the file that you have added previously. Nothing is going to happen if you just fiddle around with textures. So have fun experimenting with the game, try to make some wacky stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode of Arx Fatalis Modding Academy. Have fun modding, bye bye!